Cool. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Quaranreads. Um, I'm Raven, as usual. Running a bit late today. It's 6:30 and not 6 o'clock. That's crazy. What am I doing? Oh, I painted my nails. That's not important. They look kind of interesting. I don't know. So yeah, we're back this week with our 11th book, which is really exciting. Second book of the new year. It is We Set the Dark on Fire by Tehlor K. Mejia. Um, yeah, it's a really interesting book. Let me go ahead and share all of this to Facebook because I'm being not smart by not sharing. I should always share to Facebook. But yes, this is an interesting book. It's kind of a young adult fiction. I'm not sure if it's like truly classified as young adult fiction, but the characters and the type of plot suggests that it is. Young adult fiction is kind of like one of those categories where they just kind of are like, yeah, this is young adult fiction if it's about people of a certain age and it's got like um certain types of storylines and stuff. It's a relatively new category, you know what I mean? Because like when we read Parable of the Sower, that came out I think in like the early 90s. Young adult fiction was not a thing. It was not a category. And that book is totally like, if it was released like today, it would totally be classified as young adult fiction. But um, you know how it is. I'm going to write this book. Yeah, they come up with this category. Um, and like, here we are now, everything is young adult fiction. But this book is kind of young adult fiction. It's kind of set in a dystopian, like, government country, like an island country. And everybody, every man in this country, like every man of like high social standing, is like given two wives. One is the primera or the primera, and she is like the upright, like straight-laced wife that she runs the house. She's kind of his equal in everything. She um doesn't really show emotion. She is like very perceptive and like notices things so that she can be on top of everything. And then the segunda, who is like the beautiful, like loving, flirty girl who is like, it's basically like together they make the perfect woman. So you've got like the like, oh my god, I'm the segunda, and you've got like, I'm the primera. And it's like it's really like, it's like totally sexist, which is like the point. It's the point. But child, let me write this thing down. Um I'm like late for a dumb reason. Which maybe I'll talk about it another time. It's like really silly and it's about superheroes and superhero movies, and particularly the MCU. And I was like having a discussion with someone about that. So it's a topic for another moment, maybe a different video altogether. So I won't get into that here. I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about our lovely We Set the Dark on Fire. So the story centers around the main character, whose name is Danny or Daniela, and she is from this small town. Okay, hold on. Okay. She is from this small town, and in this particular town, they, the women I mean, no, in this particular town, like they're very close to the wall. So in this this is very hard. I don't know why. It's hard to like explain plots, but there's like a wall, and there's Medio, which is the city where everybody lives, right? That is like the chosen people. They live in Medio. And then I guess Medio is the whole island, but like the city proper, right, is behind the wall, or like the country proper, because it's different towns and stuff, but the big city on top of the hill, whatever, right? And then on the other side of the wall is like salty desert wasteland, so they say, which currently in the book we don't have evidence of. We just know that's what they say. And basically like those people are like undesirables, and so like they're not allowed to come over the wall. Once they go over the wall, they would be like fugitives and like having to hide, because you have to have papers. It's very like, you know um very much like a parallel to like the whole thing that goes on in the US with people like fleeing from Mexico or from other places in South and Central America, coming through Mexico, trying to come to the US, and then like the US like treating them like criminals, and like they have to like acquire papers so that they can stay here, and some people get fake paperwork and stuff like that. So it's the same kind of idea. This world is very much a Latin American world. It is very much kind of like, kind of got like all the characters are like Latino, and all of the like stuff is like very Latin American. Um, but so her parents, Danny's parents, are from on the other side of the wall. They fled when she was a child to a small town close to the border wall, and they had saved up money to buy themselves fake papers, but they weren't like the best fake papers, but they were like good enough to like make them seem legit for at the time. And so they decided when Danny was 11 or 12, they were going to send her to the Medill School for Girls or something like that. I think it's Medill School for Girls. And she goes there to learn how to be a primera. And basically, basically it's like completely different from anything she would have ever known. Like, people in the town that she grew up in marry one person because they love them. They have children with the person that they love, and they go on to live like a pretty like normal average life, even though it's like pretty poor, because they kind of like have like a hierarchy that's literally a hierarchy. So like if you live down here, you're poor and gross, and if you live up here, you're like the richest of the rich, right? So it's like a mountain. So just think about like how a lot of islands are a mountain because of volcanic activity. So it's kind of like that. Um, it's not clear that this mountain is a volcano, but to me, from a geological standpoint, it seems like it would be, because most islands that have a mountain in the middle of the mountain is volcano, because the island is volcanic island. But at any rate, um, not most islands, but a lot of them, and I guess mountains in general are usually volcanoes. That's a whole nother topic. So anyway, she goes to this school to be this primera, and um, she basically has learned to suppress who she is and her emotions and all this stuff to just be this like upright upper class woman. And she ends up getting married to as the primera to this boy who is like, or this young man, I guess, not like 12, but like maybe like 19, 20, 22. I don't know how old he is. But he is like the son of this like major general type guy. And he is not the nicest person, I should say. Like, he's not a great guy. He's not the nicest person. Like, he's like handsome, but like a jerk. You know what I mean? especially to her. He does not like her. But at the same time, he gets a second wife, his segunda, and she is the beautiful Carmen, who was Danny's first friend, but also her first enemy. So it's like they made friends on the bus when they were like headed towards the school, and then went like on their first day, and then she like turned on her and like told everybody that she was poor and gross, and basically made her life hell. And they ended up being married off to the same guy. So now they have to be in this household together and like supposed to form this family unit together. And it gets interesting from there. But let's open this up because I know that Mel is waiting. How do I do this? Yeah, Mel is gonna come and talk to me. I hope, because I'm late today. And anybody else, if you guys are there and you want to come talk, I'm gonna post the linky thing. Oh shoot, I closed Facebook. I'm gonna post the link into the Facebook page. So it's facebook.com Quaranreads. I do not know if it's like /Quaranreads or whatever, but it's, girl, that is not it. It is a Facebook group, and you can just type it into the search bar. And if you are already following me on or following Quaranreads on Facebook, then you're already there. So just in like 2 seconds, it's going to be posted. Shoot. Oh, okay. Well, Facebook is not being very kind, so I'm gonna let it decide it's my friend, and then we'll go on with our lives. Okay. Ooh, International Women's Day discussion. Ooh, where's that gonna be? Guess it's just on Facebook. That's tomorrow morning. So if you guys want to do that on Facebook tomorrow morning, that's pretty cool. I don't know who is actually hosting it. It sure is on the Quaranreads website, but I didn't post that. So it's probably just a Facebook thing in general. Okay, yeah, whatever. It's posted. Theoretically, it's posted. But yeah, this story is about to be really juicy because like the reviews that I've read, they're like, it seems like your typical like young adult fiction, like dystopian type of thing that you're used to. And then like it just like turns the entire trope on its head. I'm on like chapter 9. So I'm very excited to see how it turns. The thing starts really like lore heavy because she is building a world. So it's a lot of it's like you're learning about the gods of their like culture and why they have this like whole thing with the primera and the segunda in the first place. Which is like basically the sun god fell in love with a human woman, and then he married her, but then he fell in love with the moon goddess and married her, and like it became this whole like everybody who is my chosen people gets their 2 wives. And yeah, here she is. Elle's coming. Exciting. So yeah, but it's like it's really lore heavy. So hello. Oh, I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, should be back.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks. So I am not gonna lie, I had a very crazy week. So I'm only at the beginning of this book.
Yeah.
But
it's a bit of a ride. The beginning is really like, I feel like introducing the world, which is understandable because it's like a very unique world that like you got to learn about, and also you got to learn about Danny's place in this world. But boy, once you get to the parts where she's actually married, it gets kind of crazy.
oh boy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I for some reason thought at the beginning, just like reading the prologue, that it was like they chose one person from each class for one of these jobs. I just missed it. And then as I read on, I was like, oh no, everybody is. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that sucks.
Yeah, it's really like I'm excited to see where it's gonna go. It's reminding me of Handmaid's Tale in a little way.
Mm.
Just like not like that it's the exact same type of roles, but like um you have like the in Handmaid's Tale, he'll have his like wife, and then he can have his handmaid who he's gonna like try to have a baby with, or like like it's just really weird like that, right?
Oh.
So like I don't know if you've ever seen the show, but the show is like it's the same idea, but the book is much more like of a stark feeling. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have Hulu, so I haven't seen, or I think that show's on Hulu.
I think it's on
I don't have
Hulu.
a lot of streaming services, so I haven't seen it.
Yeah, the book is a lot more of a stark feeling, and this book, when they get married, it has that same type of like, you're trapped. That's it. Like this is your life. You just have to please this man, and that's it. And he's not very nice to them either. He's
Well, I
he
wouldn't expect him to be.
Yeah, he's very cold to Danny, and he's very like lecherous towards what's her name? Carmela. Um
Hmm.
so he's not very nice. But I'm excited to see the direction that this is going to take, because a lot of the reviews that I saw were saying that it kind of starts like a typical dystopian fiction thing, and then it kind of starts to like flip everything on its head, and it goes like really like interesting or something. And I'm just excited to see that, because also I want to see this guy kind of get his ass handed to him, because I don't like him.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he will eventually, right?
Yeah. Like you expect him to not be like that because he's so young. You're like, okay, well, he's the son of this general thing, but like maybe when he gets his two wives, he's gonna just be like, this is so weird. But I guess he's been raised in it so much that he doesn't know anything else either, so he's just a jerk too.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Just because someone's young, I mean,
Yeah.
doesn't mean. I've just recently been getting a lot of Madison Cawthorn tea from my friend who still lives back in Hendersonville,
Mhm.
um, and knew him a little more closely than I did in like middle school and high school. And so it just makes me think of that, because I've been getting a lot of
Yeah.
new Madison Cawthorn tea, but I'm like, nah, he's been like that since he was very small. He's
Yeah.
always been like that.
I mean,
It's always just kind of
it's so frustrating, because you're like, this
yeah,
dude's like 25. It's like,
yeah,
why
yeah,
are you like that? Why are
yeah,
you like
already. But yeah, it's been from a young age. I'm like, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so it's like, I think, which is like smart, because a lot of times you do have the expectation like a younger person is going to be different from the older generation, but
mhm.
this particular character, and also Madison Cawthorn, they
Yeah,
they're both representations of like being raised in this type of like system,
yeah,
and the system benefits you so much that you don't even see a problem. Like you're just like, those other people are being crazy, like there's no problem here.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
um
totally.
how far have you read into the book?
I'm like just at the beginning. I'm just at the part where she's taking the papers from the dude in the closet.
Oh yeah, so he's interesting. That's what I wanted to know, if you had met him yet.
Yeah,
He's interesting because he's just like freedom fighter, who in from her perspective, having come from like being in this like part of the society where everyone is like really haughty, and seeing like the downtrodden people as like inherently bad, she sees him almost like as if he's a terrorist,
yeah,
because that's kind of like what they've been taught, like, oh, those protesters are like crazy, what is wrong with them? But she also kind of when she talks to him, and she talks to him a few more times, up until like where I've read, and I'm sure he'll continue to be a factor, but she ends up being kind of torn because she does know where she came from. She knows that she's from Polvo, but also that she's not really from Polvo. She's from the other side of the wall. And
Mm-hmm.
so she knows what he means when he's talking about people being hungry and people being sick and being poor, and the government not taking care of them or like treating them like they are garbage. So she ends up being torn, like both emotionally and because in the position that she's in, it feels dangerous because anything that exposes her at all is more than just like embarrassing. It's like she could go to jail, her parents could go to jail, you know, or worse. And so yeah, he's a very interesting character for her.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's very stressful.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's a lot of parallels to things that are really going on in our world, which I think is common in dystopian fiction, and also common in horror. I think horror does that a lot too. But like, you know, the stuff that's happening in their world, although it's very much like heightened or something, I don't know what the word is for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can definitely see parallels, like the fact that they need papers, um, and they
Yeah. I'm
have to
like,
have their
what?
papers to prove that they belong there. That's very much reminiscent of what's going on in the US, like with ICE,
Mm-hmm.
and how people have to have something that proves that they belong to be in this country. Um, I mean, I've heard of ICE throwing American citizens into detainment because they seem foreign. And by seem foreign, I mean like racial profiling,
Yeah.
and they don't have anything on them that proves that they're not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very interesting, very timely piece.
Yeah. I'm like, what? Can't relate. No. Protesters being thought of as terrorists? Can't
Yeah.
relate. Never heard of it.
I wonder where she got that idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
But also like um the women in this story are interesting, which I'm sure you can already see by like the way the girls are at the school, and like also the little blurbs at the top that are like from the handbook. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
a primera is supposed to be like this, whatever.
Well, it's very much like splitting up or like the two sides of like kind of what women are either like told they have to be now or like stereotyped to be
Yeah,
like, you know, I don't know, you either need to be like this really perfect unattainable person or you're just like, oh wow, they're so emotional and you know this terrible thing's happening and they just care about the fact that they're going to have dark circles under their eyes the next day and not look cute and all, you know.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely a what is it, like a deep caricature of the ideals of what a woman should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially they've got the Primera, and she must be like she almost has to be like a cold shell of a woman that's just like, I don't feel anything. I am just upright and strong, and I will never cause anyone problems because I do not show my like it's like she's not allowed to be a person. And then you've got this Segunda who's just like, you know, this caricature of like what the like, oh, I'm a damsel, please read, like that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's really stupid. And like the more you read, it's just you just get more frustrated because you're like, but why? um
Yeah.
because I mean, and obviously that's the point, but like the more you read, especially when they finally go through their ceremony and they actually marry him, you'll see what I mean. Like the expectations of them when they get to the house are just so ridiculous. I'm like, who would want to live like this? I can't even understand why the men want to live like that. Like, why do you want to live in this rigid household where no one's having fun? It's just ridiculous. But I guess that also goes into the idea of the patriarchy is bad for everyone. It's not just bad for women, it's also bad for men. And, yeah, but it's very much frustrating. I was just like reading it and then I was like, this is just so ridiculous. It went with life. I do know that there are a lot of cultures that have polygamy in different ways. I'm sure it doesn't function like this. This is very much fictionalized version of it. I don't know. I don't want to have like a negative opinion of polygamy in general because it's not my culture. I don't want to like crap on someone's culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one is very much not great.
Not going well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's mostly just because it's so rigid. Like the women are expected to just be these like perfect two categories and to never step out of that, and almost like you can't even talk to your husband on a human level. Like you can't just be like, oh man, I'm so tired, this was such a long day, because that would be like considered out of line, like something as simple as that. And yeah, so it's very frustrating, which is also why I'm very excited to see what they do when this flips on its head, because I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, and anytime you have something that's a very strong binary,
Yeah.
you have to stick to, it's going to be frustrating. It's not going to fit.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Anybody.
It doesn't work on a universal scale.
Yeah. Also, I need to take a quick field trip because I'm baking more bread.
Ooh, bread again.
Bread field trip.
Yum.
Yeah, that's what the timer was. Oh, the alarm was. My bread alarm.
Yay.
Yeah.
Make some bread. I've been meaning to get a bread recipe and try one.
Oh, well, this one I'd use is really easy. I can send it to you.
Ooh, please do.
Yeah, it's super easy. I've been, bread check. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. This time I think is better than last time we did a bread field trip.
Awesome.
I've improved. Oh yeah, perfect. Just got it out in time.
Looks great.
Okay.
That one's real fluffy.
Yeah. Well, last time I think I actually didn't bake it quite long enough.
Oh yeah.
So I've been trying to make it a little bit darker, and I think it's been better. So not a lot of bread information you didn't necessarily need, but here we go.
Bread is delicious and fun to bake. So
yeah. Well, I just like it better. Also, we still have a lot of Lunar New Year decorations up from my room.
How fun.
Okay. Back. All right, bread field trip.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, it's definitely it's a very fun book. It's definitely a book. I wouldn't say aimed at like young audience, but aimed at younger audiences than Pachinko was.
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely more of a young adult book.
Yes, it is. Like the worlds are extremely different, but it definitely seems like it's aimed at a similar audience to like Children of Blood and Bone.
Yeah. Yeah, like an older teen, maybe young 20-something audience. Because,
Yeah.
and the interesting thing about this, which you don't often see in young adult fiction, is that the ages of the characters is not like high school age, except for like for that last little bit when they're still at the school, but they are that 18 to like 24 age group. Because I'm not sure that the husband Mateo is their exact same age. I think he may be a little older than them.
Yeah. I
Just
mean, that
because
would make sense.
someone at the party says, "Oh, you finally settled down," to him, so it sounds like he's maybe
Ooh.
a little older.
Okay. Yeah, he's
I don't
pretty.
think he's old, but he's probably in his 20s already, whereas
Yeah.
they're 18. So, but he also is already working in politics, so I get the impression he's probably about 24 or 23 or something, but it doesn't say, so I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm excited for a book that is kind of set in that age group, because a lot of books kind of skip that age group. It's either teens or it's adults, and like that like young adult
Mhm.
age group is often like not represented in books. And I think it's because of marketing. I don't think it's like because like of authors. I think it's because publishers like having a little neat category so they can say, no, this is for teenagers and this is for, and so it's
Yeah.
kind of a weird category. So you don't see a lot of stuff published, but I'm excited to read that age group. It's also like weird because it's about these two girls marrying this guy, which seems very uncomfortable for me. Like I'm definitely old enough to
Yeah.
get married at this age, but like I don't think about marriage like that. I'm not like, oh yeah, I could be married. It kind of freaks me out that I could be married, It's
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
weird. So
Yeah.
thinking about somebody that's like 18 is like, oh my God. You're like, can you imagine graduating from a school and they just be like, okay, here's your government issue husband? That would be like,
Listen, I can't, but let me tell you, I was high schooled in rural North Carolina or homeschooled in rural North Carolina. So I can't imagine it personally, but I did know a lot of people
I
who did.
believe you.
Essentially, they did that.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like that whole like, yeah, there's definitely that culture down here where people are just like, I guess I'm a grown up now, I should get married. But like,
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
have
I
friends
was,
younger than me who have children, and I'm just like,
yeah. Oh,
I
definitely. I knew girls
yeah.
that had kids by the time they were like 18, 19, and I was just like, that's fine. Like, and no shade. Like everybody has their own journey, but like I can't imagine
Oh
it.
yeah. And
I'm,
listen, a lot of those people, great moms. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it turned out great. I just personally would not be able to. I personally
yeah.
can't imagine it. Uh,
I feel like I was like not no shade to young me either, and no shade to current me, but I feel like I was dumb. So I don't know that I could. I feel like I would have. It would have been a huge disaster. Either one of those things, being married or being a mom, it would have been a disaster.
oh yeah.
I'm sure my parents would have helped me out, but like it wouldn't have been great. I was not emotionally prepared.
No, no, I wouldn't have been.
Yeah,
Listen, I don't. I have a partner now, and am I emotionally prepared? No.
I don't think I'm emotionally prepared.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, like, hey, if it happens, it happens. But like, I can't like imagine it right now. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure that's a thing. I'm sure that's a thing for lots of people. But yeah, so yeah, that whole concept is just like out, outlandish to me. Like, you just graduate from essentially high school. Like at first, I was like, maybe it's college, but no, it's essentially high school. And like, they're just like, here's your husband.
Here you go. You've been training this whole time for this, so go. I mean, the school is kind of a training program
Yeah, it's
for
a wife training program, which is
the wife
just
training.
gross.
Yeah.
It's very Stepford. It's very like, you must be a great proper wife. I'm
Yeah.
like, it bothers me because I'm like wondering, do those girls like learn anything else? Like, are they learning math and science? Probably not. They're just like learning how to be a wife. I mean, I'm sure like I feel like the Primera probably learns math because she has to manage the household. So she probably does learn like I have to keep the books and like make sure all, but it's not learning math because you should learn math. It's learning math because you have to make sure your husband's household is run properly.
Yeah, yeah. Also, how do they look at a baby and then just be like, yeah, this one can be in charge of stuff. Yeah, this one kind of sucks. She can be in the throwaway group.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Determine that.
And it's like the Segunda is the breeder, which is weird too. It's just like, can you imagine just being an 11-year-old girl or a 12-year-old girl and they're just like, you'll just be a breeder when you grow up. Here, go be a Segunda.
Yeah.
And also, how do they know if the girl is even fertile? Like some people can't have babies. Like that was like scary. I was like, what happens if she's married to this guy and he's like some high-ranking government official? So you know he wants kids because they all want kids for possession reasons, not because they want to be fathers, but because I have to have an heir, that type of thing. And what happens if she can't have kids? Like, is she just thrown away? Is she killed? What happens to her?
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
scary.
can the other wife have a kid if the Segunda can't? I don't know.
I don't know. It's very strange.
I guess we'll find. I'm sure it'll come up.
And like the way the girls, well, I guess because I just got to the marriage, so I was at the school for the duration of when they were at the school. But the way the Segundas are talked about is so like the Primeras are it's also a sexist category. It feels like it's less because they are supposedly like the equal to the husband, which they're really not. They're really just doing all the work so he doesn't have to. But it's just so sexist the way they talk about those girls. They're just like, oh, but they're just pretty and like airheads and they don't have to worry about anything. And they're just overly emotional and then they have babies. And I'm just like, wow. Wow. Like, can you imagine being a teenage girl and that's how people talk about you? They're just like, oh, well, you're just like pretty and emotional and you have babies.
Yeah.
Like, that's all those girls can aspire to. It's hard.
Bad.
But that's the dystopia. And so I'm ready to see how it breaks, which is the interesting part.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see. I mean, I think definitely like also, I mean, I was fortunate to grow up in, a family that had bigger dreams and aspirations. But I think at least like culturally and in the media, like definitely there's the idea that, I mean, not that you can't amount to anything, but you are more pretty and emotional and you'll be a great mom someday.
Yeah, that is definitely, I think that's like unfortunately, it's like a Southern ideal in general. It's like you're going to be this perfect Christian wife with your perfect babies, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're going to marry some good Christian man and you're going to have your 2.5 kids and that type of thing. And like also like no shade to being a wife and mother. Like I really don't want to insult women, and women can be a wife and mother if they want to. If that's what you want to do, perfectly fine. And like I probably will end up being married at some point. I'll probably end up having kids at some point. But like just the like reductive thing of like that's what you are, that's what you're supposed to be, that's what you need to aspire to. And almost like as well that you have to choose, like if you want to have a career, then it's like saying that you don't want to have a partner and you don't want to have a family. And if you do want to have a partner and a family, then it's almost like you can't have a career. You need to choose to be with that person. And that's it.
Yeah. And also like the assumption that it's like, yeah, you're going to college, but we all know.
Yeah, you're going to college to find
there to find a cute boy, and like you'll just end up settling down.
Exactly.
So like I got my MRS degree or whatever, which
No,
is not
people straight up said that type of thing to me when I was like
bad.
graduating from high school and I was going to college, and people were just like, "Oh, well, you'll find a good man, and you'll find him in college." People always find their man in college,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, does it have to be like? Is that what my life is supposed to be? Like, does it have to be that?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I got the one that was like, oh well, if you're majoring in the arts, you better find some nice engineer or something, to
yeah,
who's gonna have enough money to take care of you, whatever. I got that
yeah,
one.
definitely that.
Great.
Mm, mm, horrible
But
things. um, but yeah, so
yeah.
I would say like the book is doing a very good job of like capture, and I guess like I'm certain that like a lot of it is her pulling from stuff in her culture as a Latina as well,
Mhm.
stuff that like I'm not necessarily privy to because I'm not Latino, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it's very interesting. I love this that she's pulling from her culture. I don't think I've very often read books that were about like Latinx culture
Mm-hmm.
so like heavily. Sometimes there'll be a book and there'll be like a Latinx character, and it's just like almost like a caricature, or like they're there to be like the token, which happens a lot with like the only person of color or the only queer person or whatever in a book. They're just like tokenized, especially in young adult fiction, which is notorious for being about white kids falling in love, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm enjoying reading something that is so like full of things that she's pulling from Latinx culture.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to read it. I was gonna do a little research and about like where she got some of the like mythology, and if
Yeah,
it was like inspired by like, I don't know,
some real myths.
mythology from those areas or
It definitely sounds like it, and I love mythology, so I'm very like surprised that I'm not like immediately going, "Oh yes, this sounds like." But yeah, it
yeah.
definitely sounds like it certainly sounds like it's her own lore. Like it's like she made up this sun god thing, but like it definitely sounds like something that would have been pulled from actual mythology of the area. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure if this is supposed like it's not, I don't think it's any specific country. Um I think she's Mexican. I'm not sure. I think the author is Mexican American.
Mhm.
Um, but like just being an island makes me think of Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, especially with how Dominican Republic and Haiti are like split down the middle. And it kind of reminds me of that a little bit because in the DR, people kind of look down on Haiti, even
Mm.
though it's the same place. Um, so I don't know. I think she's doing doing a thing of where she's pulling from different cultures to kind of create this world. Um,
Okay. That's cool.
yeah, very interesting. I'm so excited to read about it. Um, I'm kind of interested in seeing what happens with Mateo um, as they move deeper into, because like where I have read to, we've kind of just met him. The girls have just been there for like a week maybe, but it like time jumps. So like they get there the first day and like they kind of like learn the house, and then they get like a week to kind of like learn the house, learn the routines, and like kind of get to know him. But he's a jerk, so he's not like really interested in getting to know them. So it kind of that's not really happening. And then like the first week later, they're introduced into society a little bit. So Danny has to like go meet other people at this party, and like all that stuff. But I feel like I'm interested in seeing what happens with him, because he's a character that narratively could go either way. Like he could either be like the like antagonist the whole time, like the character that is like some kind of looming bad guy throughout the whole piece, or he could be like a Prince Zuko type where he's just like,
Yeah.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because of the position I was born into, and then he like gradually is like, wait, this is actually wrong. So I'm excited to see which direction he goes in.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that'll be cool then.
Yeah. And I'm also excited to see what happens with this revolutionary boy that she keeps coming into contact with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I figured he was going to come back.
Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet, but it's interesting. But yeah, and then you know, emerge and unfold. But I guess we should close. We have gone like into 7:15, so we talked for a long time. Um, but I guess yeah, next time we will come back and talk about this some more, and we'll see how it goes. So
Hmm.
it sounds like it's going to be quite a fun book. Um, sounds like it's going to be interesting, and I love books that. I mean, I think that art is political inherently. Like art reflects the world that we live in, so therefore it's always going to be political. But I love when people pull things from like actual political things that are going on in the world and like kind of like that we reflect on that. That's really cool to me. So I'm excited to see what she has to say in this book. It's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. This isn't a series, right?
I don't think so. And if it is, then I don't think any books are out yet, other books. I think this is a relatively
Okay.
new book.
Yeah, because I kind of looked at some reviews a little bit and it didn't look like it was. But a lot of these times like these like young adult type books end up being series. So I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll close and I'll see you next time. We will
cool.
talk more.
Yeah. We'll have a good week.
You too. Enjoy your bread. It looks fun. It looks good.
Thanks. Thanks. I'll send you the recipe.
Please do. I'm gonna make
Yeah,
some.
super easy. I use a cast iron skillet because I just feel like with the way my oven's just kind of weird, and I feel like it bakes more evenly in there.
Mhm.
So the recipe, but you could put it in a regular bread pan if you like the loaf shape. So
I guess I have a cast iron skillet, so I might try your way.
yeah,
Just
I like it. I like how it cooks. My roommate sometimes will try to make bread in a loaf pan, and the middle of it never cooks through for some reason.
yikes.
So but I haven't had that problem with the cast iron skillet. So I don't know, but yeah.
I'm sure
Awesome.
it's something to do with conduction from having all of that.
Yeah, and our oven like runs a little bit hot, and it's like a gas oven versus like an electric one. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Science, is related. I'm not really sure, but that just somehow it seems to work the way I've been doing it. So
We had a gas oven when I lived in Brooklyn, and it would like go out sometimes, like you couldn't start it and you'd have to like get one of those like long lighters like this, like one of these types of lighters, and just be like, please don't blow me up.
yeah, that's not safe because that can like have gas just leaking into your house if it's doing that. That's very unsafe.
I know. And we told the landlord like several times, we were like, this oven does not light all the time. And they were just like, so I don't know.
That's
You know how it is. Well, I don't know, but Brooklyn is like questionable because there's so much gentrification, but it's like people, how can you say this? People take advantage because of the gentrification. So they're like, I don't really have to do anything to these apartments. You can just live there and pay me $1,400 or whatever, or you can just suck it up. So yeah, that's another topic for another day.
okay. Yeah, I have only really been to New York once for a week. So I honestly don't know a lot about New York.
the gentrification thing is a real issue in
Yeah.
multiple ways. In multiple ways.
Yeah. That is what I mean, it's terrible in Portland. Like here it's like one of the most gentrified places or rapidly gentrifying places you can possibly live. So for Portland, I'm like, yeah, it checks out. So I would imagine in New York it's also pretty bad. There's way more people there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bad here too.
Yeah. Gentrification.
Yeah.
Terrible.
That's
Anyway.
worms, though.
Yeah, that's a big can of worms. Like,
Yeah.
let's not get into that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and peace out. Talk to you later. Have a good time with your bread and
Thanks. Yeah, you too.